All right, welcome back to another episode of the Be Fabbo Podcast. I am your host, Bobbi Brinkman. Super excited to have you sharing space with me again. Always love sharing space with entrepreneurs, whatever season they're in, whatever chapter they're in, rebuilding, brand new, reinventing, recharging, or happily continuing to build exactly from where they are. You're welcome here. Everyone is welcome here, and I'm always honored to share space with you. So this episode, we are talking about purpose. If you've been following along on the podcast or over on Be Fabbo on Substack, or if you subscribe to my weekly newsletter, hint, hint, make sure you sign up for that. Link is in show notes. Over the last 10 weeks, we've been doing the foundation work, the inside work, the work that doesn't always show up on a spreadsheet, but changes everything that comes after it. So this week, we're beginning a new chapter, a new season. We're moving from who you're becoming into what you're building. For the last 10 weeks, we've done the work inside, the foundation. We've been building it. We've been laying it. Because when we build from a strong foundation, we will build a business that supports the life that we want and deserve and not the other way around, right? We want to get that freedom. Financial freedom is wonderful and amazing, and we can do good things with financial freedom, but we also want to have time freedom, to be able to spend time with those that matter, to new experiences, to just be and go at any moment's notice when called. When life calls us, we want to be able to go and be. Time is short. Life is short. I want everybody listening to this podcast, and my mission is for everybody to live more life. We're not going to be able to take the work with us. It's the legacy that we're building that we'll leave behind. But we also must teach this next generation that life is to be lived, and don't put everything off until the golden years. Let your golden years be now. Serve, make an impact from where you are. So that's what we talked about as the foundation of clarity and self-trust, the voice, the energy, and the practice of showing up for ourselves and for others. So now we're going to take all of that and we're going to get ready to put it out into the world. And that's where we start building, really building what matters most with purpose. We're going to start with purpose. So this episode will be around purpose. And that you don't need a big one or a grand one. And when I talk about purpose, I'm not talking about the mission statement version, that polished paragraph that's on your about page or in your bio or all the places that you can put who you are out there. That sounds inspiring. But does it really ever attract the right fit clients? It shows our resume. It shows some of the hardware that we have, the awards and accolades, all wonderful and all deserved. But does that in this world right now matter as much as why you do what you do and the who's behind the brand? I want to talk about that real version, the honest, personal, specific reason of the work that you do matters. That's true, even when no one is watching you grow. Even when no one is applauding you, it's because you do the work because you believe in it. And you know you have something that will help others solve a pain point, to grow their businesses, to build that life. You have something to offer. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's get at it. Here's a question I want you to sit with when we talk today. Just put it somewhere for you to it'll resonate and come back to it. And I'm not talking about the bottom line, and we're not going to talk a lot about the strategy. I want you to ask this question of yourself. Why does what you're building, why does the business that you're creating, why does the work that you do matter beyond your own success? What is it? What does what you're building, the work that you do, the impact that you can have, why does it matter beyond your own success? Again, not the bottom line, not your bank account, not the strategy you're working on, but building it that matters beyond your success. To the people that you're here to serve, to the version of the world that exists differently because you showed up and are building what you're building. Because you took the step of faith. You took that leap. You put in the blood, sweat, and tears, and you got the tools out of your toolbox, and you built a solid foundation. And the world is different. People are different. Clients are different. Your community is different. Your industry is different. Your niche is different. You're different because of how you showed up and what you're building. Most people never ask that question directly. They stay at the level of practical. They talk about the offers. They talk about the audiences. They talk about the revenue. And they hope the meaning shows up somewhere on its own down the line, but they don't address it now. It's that why behind the why. You initially thought you could do this. Maybe you started your business because you knew you need to be profitable, because you had a parent that worked 9 to 5 and you never saw them and you lacked for everything. Or you had a parent who was gone all the time and highly successful and you never got to see them. So you knew you wanted to do something differently. And it could be something in the middle, and it probably is. Most people don't ask that question of, what am I building? What am I building that means more than just my own success? What meaning does it show up? What does show up authentically yourself? What does it mean? What does it mean when you put yourself out there? When what you're building is your why? It's found, it's deliberate, by asking the harder questions and being willing to sit with the answer until it's honest. You might have to rewrite it because you're still writing an answer that you think the public or your colleagues or your family members are telling you the answer should be. I want you to write down the answer of what you're building. What you're building matters more than success to you. Why? Your why and your answer. Now, here's the distinction. I want you to make it and I want you to think about it. I want you to write it down. What really matters, what you're building to others. What really matters? What impact will it make other than your success? There's a difference between purpose and performance. A lot of what gets called purpose online, if you really look at it closely, is more about performance. It's showing up and doing something because people are watching. It's showing up and saying the right thing, or showing up at an event because it's the right event to be at, because that's where you want to be seen. The mission statement that was written to attract clients, not even the right clients, but just clients. And we chase those clients instead of trying to attract. So we're saying things that will go after. We chase clients that might not even be our right fit client, but we've learned and we've been taught the mission statements must be really deep, even if it doesn't really align with us. We've fallen into that trap. The values chosen because they tested well. And these values are the current trend words. It might be authenticity, or it might be motivational. All those words that are core values, that become a trend instead of meaningful. And sometimes we choose those core values and we choose a mission statement to chase, and it doesn't really attract. The story of why you started that's been polished into something so compelling that it's really not even all the way true. It sounds so good on paper. Could you even live up to it? And if somebody asked you about that why and deeper, would there be a reason behind it? Would your vulnerability show up? Or is that what you were trying to hide? You didn't really want to tell your full why because you might have shed a tear. Somebody might have seen an emotion in you. And along the line, we have been taught if we show emotion, we're weak, or we're doing it for applause, or we're doing it for a cause that has meaning, or that is trending. Many of us have been affected by cancer. It doesn't mean all of us align with a foundation of cancer. It doesn't mean that all of us do work for the Cancer Foundation, or we all don't do work for a cancer, or we do fundraising for cancer, but it affects us, but we just don't say it because maybe we're afraid that if we say, hey, I'm out today donating my time to the Cancer Society, would people just think that's trending? When it might be our story, but we haven't been able to share our story because we didn't put that in the mission statement. Not that purpose that you're afraid to have, but the purpose that is marketing all dressed up. That's not the purpose that we want. We want the purpose to be you and who you are, the real purpose. And real purpose, my friends, is sometimes quieter and doesn't get a lot of attention. So therefore, in the marketing world, in business growth, somebody along the line or somewhere along the line, somebody we hired or we Googled it or we ChatGPT'd it, said we need to sound better on paper than we really are. That if we had this on our website, people would stop scrolling. If we had this in an Instagram profile, people will stop scrolling. It doesn't always make good copy. It's sometimes personal enough that you hesitate to share it directly because you're afraid it won't be good copy. It won't stop the scroll. It's the thing that's true about your purpose and what you do, and you're doing it even if nobody's watching, and even if nobody's stopping and scrolling, but yet you're afraid to put it out there. It's the reason that you would still do the work that you're doing today if nobody ever told you it was making a difference. Remember the old phrase, man, I do this job for free? That's what I'm talking about. You love what you do so much that you would do it for free. It's the reason you still do the work, even if nobody ever told you it was making a difference, because it was making a difference to you. Man, that's real. Because you know it is. That knowing, the internal knowing, that's your purpose. And it's even more than enough to build from. Something in a purpose, your purpose and your why may seem so small to you, but it is huge to others. So I'll share a little bit about what purpose really does for your building and building what matters most from my lens. Because purpose isn't just that feel-good fuel. It's one of the most practical things that you can do and that you have, because it's real. Your why is your why, and it's only you. Your why is your why. Nobody else has your why. You may have similarities. You may say a cancer diagnosis. My father died of cancer 50 some odd years ago. I relate to somebody losing a parent from cancer. But our whys may not be exactly the same. I can appreciate the path. I can have empathy. I can have compassion because I've been through my version of what it was like to lose a parent to cancer and to battle that and to see that and to do that as a high school student. But again, purpose isn't just feel-good fuel. It's one of the most practical things that you have and that you can use. And here's why. Ambition is about what you get. Purpose is about what you give. Let that sink for a minute. Give me a high five. Let me know in a text or a DM. Let me know if you agree with that. Ambition is about what you get. Purpose is about what you give. And when the results are slow and the gap is long and the doubt is louder than clarity, having something to give is far more durable reason than to keep going, than to have something to get. Agreed? Because when the results are slow and the gap is long and the doubt is louder than the clarity, having something to give is far more durable. It's a bigger reason. It's a more important reason. It's a more impactful reason to keep going than have something to get. You want to give something. But sometimes wanting to give something gets lost in the what do I get? What's in it for me? That's even a marketing strategy. You need to have your content show what's in it for me, because that's how most gurus and most influencers are saying that that's what people shop. And that's how we'll stop the scroll when they say, well, what's in it for me? What do I get? Ambition will run out, but purpose will keep going long after motivation will die. Purpose keeps going long after motivation dies and fades away. I have watched this played out for over 40 years of building my own business. And here's what I have learned after 4 decades of building and rebuilding my own work, my own purpose, my own passion, including through a Parkinson's diagnosis that asked me to completely reimagine what was possible for me physically, professionally, and personally. The polished version of purpose runs out. It runs out when the results are slow. It runs out when the validation gets quiet. It runs out when you're doing the work entirely on faith and nobody is confirming that it matters. Nobody is saying to you, man, you're making an impact. Nobody's giving you that gold star. Nobody's handing you that participation trophy. The real version does not run out, my friends, because the real version was never dependent on anyone confirming it in the first place. The person who's saying something real over the long term, who keeps showing up through the hard seasons, for the bumps in the road, for every time they fall down, who keep going when the growth is invisible. They're almost connected to something beyond their own success. That's why they keep going, because they're almost always connected. And they know the answer to the question of what my business is doing more than success for me. A specific person, their work would change. A specific shift that they're making possible, a specific permission they're giving to people who need it. And if you're listening in, you don't need permission to change. It's like we're not stuck. You've always had the choice to make a decision, to move forward, to step back, to go right, to go left. So you're not really stuck. And here, your purpose always gives you permission to continue to grow. You don't need permission from anybody to build your business, to build what matters most, to build a life that supports what you want, to build a business that will support your life, to build a life that is just as purposeful and legacy driven as your business. You don't need permission from anybody. So you're not stuck. You're not spiraling. Just take the next step. Believe in yourself. Dig deep into your purpose and follow your purpose, and you will keep moving forward. Because what you're doing and the impact you're making has almost always been connected to something more than success. And if you think really hard and look inside, that's why you started. Along the line, and I could be wrong here. Maybe you had profit, money, million. Maybe that was on your vision board. Maybe that's what you put the first 9 things on a list of 10. But I firmly believe that somewhere along the line, you were also wanting to make an impact that was beyond your own success. We can do a lot when we're successful, and we should. So what's that specific person that changed because of your work? That what you were teaching, what you're offering made it possible for them to make a shift. That connection to something beyond themselves is what will help get them through the gap. And that's what you're doing for yourself. The connection that you have with your purpose will help you get through any gap in the messy middle season. And it's available to every single person that's listening. I promise you, if you're tuning in today, you do not need a grand purpose. You just need a real purpose. And those are very different things. I'll tell you a little bit about my own purpose, the real version, not the polished one. I spent 40 years capturing moments that mattered. And what I understood about my work deeply, personally, in a way that has kept me going through all the hard seasons. I mean, I went through the stock market crash. I went through some other times before COVID. And then we had to make it after COVID. And I'm making it now when I made the decision to step away after 42 years. I made that decision. My purpose was I knew I needed to make a change. And what I understood about my work deeply, that's what kept me going. Through all of those hard times, even through this diagnosis, it was this. I was giving people proof that something beautiful happened. I knew that by holding a camera in my hand, I was freezing moments. That was my superpower. I was capturing moments that happened so they would have a memory. Now, we all know that 2 people can look at the same photograph and be taken to a different story. My role as the photographer was to capture the moment. However they see it, that's up to them. That's what moves them. That's their heart. That's the feeling it evokes. I take one photograph and 2 people go back in that photo to the time, to the place, to the conversation, to the person, to what was going on in their own life. I remember I was at the beach on a family vacation and I was wondering if I was going to get terminated from my job. Or I was at the beach and I knew I just had an exam, potential cancer screening, and I didn't get the results back yet. Or I was at this family vacation and we're sitting on the beach and I'm looking at my grandchildren and I'm wondering, is it time to move closer to them? Whatever they were feeling during that photo, that's my job. That's the power of photography. Not the Instagram version, but the real version. The grandmother at the wedding who was there and no longer is with us. The child in the family portrait who grew up way too fast and accomplished many things. Those moments that felt ordinary and turned out to be everything. From every birth that I photographed to every death that I photographed, that was the power of photography. For those calls that people made to me when they knew it was going to be their last photo with their parent or their grandparent. And I would come and gather us all together, knowing it was going to be the last time they were all together. And that might become their most cherished photo. The moment that felt ordinary and turned out to be everything. I was giving people the ability to hold on to what they loved. Again, pick up that photo, feel it. When they walk through a room and they look through a photo book, or now you look through your phone or your computer or your digital frame, And you remember that you were loved and that you had the privilege of loving those in the photos. That purpose, that specific, personal, unglamorous reason is what sustained me for 40 years of showing up at people's most important moments and even their saddest ones. The ones where, Bobbi, I'm having a baby. My baby's not going to live. Please come and photograph. I did countless birthing sessions like this. And because I had the camera to my face and I had that role, my job of knowing the power of photography, I was able to get through it. I would fall apart walking back to my car, wondering how this poor family would ever deal with the loss of a child that they only had for an hour or a day. Having that camera in my hand up to my face, I was focused on my role, what I was given, my gifts to capture these moments. Hard ones, beautiful ones, sad ones, joyful ones. That will take people out of the real world for a moment, but proof that they live life. Now that work has changed. The container has changed, but my purpose is the same. I still want to give people the ability to hold on what matters and to build what matters most so they can build a business that supports the life that they want, so they have time with their loved ones while they're young, while they're growing, while they're changing, and to be fully present in their life as much as they're on their business, to find that harmony, to show up for the seasons that are busy in their business, but to show up for the seasons in their life that is also calling them. And if they have to step away because life happens, I want them to be able to be fully present. The purpose is still the same. I want to give people the ability to hold on to what matters and to build that. Now the purpose includes more clarity instead of photographs. It includes more self-trust instead of capture moments. The building of something real instead of the preservation of something beautiful or sad. Same purpose, new form. That's what real purpose does. It travels with you through reinvention. Here's what I'm asking you to do this week. Write your purpose in one honest sentence. Don't do it for your website bio. Don't do it for your speaking bio. Don't do it for your LinkedIn bio. Don't do it for your about page anywhere. Just do it for you. Start with, I do this work because. And then finish it with the most honest thing you can say. I do this work because it fills my purpose of. I do this work because it fills my passion to. I do this work because I want to make a difference. Whatever that is, not the most impressive thing, not the most compelling thing, but the truest thing. Put it somewhere that you can see it every day. And let it remind you on an ordinary Tuesday that when the work is just the work, and you might hit some speed bumps, and you're getting more no's than yeses, and you question if what you're doing matters, and if you're meant to be doing what you're doing, you'll see this note. You'll see this line. And it will remind you that all of this that you're doing matters. So my invitation is to invite you over to Substack, where we're building together, where we're doing more. We're now in this building season, right? 10 weeks of taking everything from the foundation that we built and we're putting it back out into the world. So this week, Wednesday post goes up. Tomorrow goes up on For Purpose. You're listening into the podcast here on Tuesday. Tomorrow I'll go deeper on purpose on Substack. What it actually is, how we lose it, and why reconnecting to it is more sustainable than you think for your business. And if you're on my newsletter, again, show notes has all the links to sign up for these things. You'll get even some more. You'll get some coaching questions in that newsletter every Wednesday that goes with the topic that we're talking about. So on Wednesday, you get the fuller post on Substack, plus in your inbox, in your email from my newsletter, you'll get some questions to help you even do some more work. And then on Friday, I always record a short guided auto reflection, about 10, 12 minutes with a few more prompts to help you sit and find the real reason underneath the polished version of your why. I do that every Friday. It's audio version. You can get it in the newsletter or you can pick it up over on Substack. It's free. So join me. Links are in the show notes. Let's continue this conversation. Let's keep building what matters most because I'm building right along with you. I want to leave this with you today. You don't need that grand purpose. That's your reminder. You do not need a grand purpose. You just need a real one. Honest, personal, specific. A reason that this work matters more to you, and it's true, even when no one is watching, applauding, or telling you you're doing the right thing. You're doing the work because it's your purpose and it aligns with your why. Find that purpose. Keep building from that purpose. My friends, everything else will follow. Profit, purpose, and joy will be there. They'll follow when you build what matters most. I'm cheering you on every single day. I'm your unwavering champion. Success and joy. Until next week, my friends, stay Fabbo.